You are listening to a special edition of the IU Report with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutsell, and today with special guest Michelle Garmon, their reaction to Indiana's season-opening 98-51 win over Alabama A&M, and it's only on the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Welcome back, IU fans, to the IU Report, a special edition of the IU Report here on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Grant Shouse hanging out with Mike Hutsell. Michelle Garmon's somewhere around here as well. Greg Mengeld's producing this thing, of course. And good start to the Darren DeVries era tonight. Indiana gets a 98-51 win over Alabama A&M. And I know it's just Alabama A&M, but you said it, Mike, in our thread. When you think back to the debut of the last two coaches, this one looks like how it should look. You know, a 50-point win over a quad 3, quad 4 opponent, a low Ken Pom team, and you dominate the game like that. That's how these kind of bye games should be, and that's a good sign for Indiana early on.
Absolutely. You want to come into these games and you just want to have fun. I think they did that. They're throwing balls off the backboard with 16 minutes to play, and Josiah Miles is putting people on posters. But more importantly, for the net and all the metrics, you just want to put up a big number. And this was a 30-point spread that they covered by halftime. This game was over effectively before the first TV timeout, and that's everything that you want to see in a game like this. You got your stars had big games. You had 5 guys in double figures. You had surprise performance maybe you saw signs of life out of Josiah Miles that you haven't seen. He hit a 3 and he had that huge dunk in the second half. You've got to go to a much bigger step up in competition on Sunday. But you gave your fans something tonight that they haven't really enjoyed in a very, very long time, and that's just a beat down and aesthetically pleasing is one of my favorite terms, and just a brand of basketball that you haven't seen in Bloomington in a very, very long time. 3-pointers, back cuts, no mid-range jumpers, dunks, 14 or 15 dunks, I think is what they finished with tonight. Just a fun start to the new era, and you can't really complain about anything coming out of that one.
And I think one of the more impressive things about it was, and again, you pointed this out, you were able to see the first half a little more intently than I was. I saw the entire second half, and you didn't have assistants sleepwalking on the bench over there, which was nice to see. You had guys in tune coaching their team up. And again, there's a lot of positive things to take away from this first game. The competition is what it is. Like, that Alabama A&M team wasn't going to be the Dallas Mavericks out there. I mean, this was a team that is not very good, is a low-rated Ken Pom team, like we said in college basketball. And Indiana took care of business like they should. And when you go back to years past and these bye games in the beginning of the year, especially in the last 2 years, like Indiana would be leading Wright State by 7-8 points with 5 minutes to go in the game, and you were kind of puckered there because you thought Wright State hit a couple threes and get back in the game. You could be staring down the barrel of the epitome of brutality lost. So Indiana proved that. I think kind of shut some people up there in that aspect tonight for those few people that were talking about it. But the competition definitely is a step up on Sunday when they have to play Marquette in Chicago.
I wanted to touch back on something Mike said a little bit. Is if you remember last year, it was Tennessee we played in that exhibition, right? And played them really tough.
Yeah, and won in Knoxville, yeah.
And then we came out and played lethargic, uninspired basketball in the season opener. And today, I was really impressed. I got to see the entire first half myself, and I loved it. I mean, you came out and Indiana played inspired, and I looked at Greg and I told him at one point, I said, Indiana has better ball movement and has made more cuts and moving without the ball more than they ever did in Mike Whitson's entire 4-year tenure, and probably even Archie Miller's 4-year tenure. It was incredible to watch.
For sure.
It's such a modern brand of playing the game. And for 4 years, we talked about it a little bit last night, they just weren't fun at all to watch. They dumped the ball to the post and guys would walk it up the court with Archie. You'd just go, Romeo Langford, the best player on his team, would go stand in the corner for prolonged periods of time without the ball, and then he'd have to bail out the offense. You don't see that. There was a possession, and I think it was in the second half, so Grant, you probably saw it. They didn't get a basket out of it, but the ball movement, Robbie Hummel was just in awe of the ball movement. Like all 5 guys, I think, touched the ball at least twice on a possession, and it ended up with a wide open look for Wilkerson, who unfortunately didn't hit the 3, but we haven't seen anything remotely resembling that in the last 8 years of basketball here. So just to see, and I'm not going to sit here and fawn on about a win over Alabama A&M, but at the same time, I'm going to enjoy something that I haven't been able to watch for the better part of a decade, and that's just a fun brand of basketball to sit and watch my team play.
Absolutely, and this was a game that you could tell they played inspired, like Michelle said. This is a game that you could tell they were ready to just come out and I think get it going. Probably have been chomping at the bit for the last, probably since the Baylor game, to play another game, and they came out and did what they were supposed to do. We said it a lot in the reactions to these football games, the Indiana State football game. Like, they came out and they won 73-0 like they were supposed to do. Indiana wins 98-51 and they do what they're supposed to do. And now your attention starts to focus over to Marquette, where that's a good Marquette team in November. Like you said a few weeks ago, Mike, you want to get Shaka in, you want to get Shaka in March. You don't want to get Shaka in November. And Indiana's going to be getting prime Shaka Smart on a neutral floor, which will be interesting. So I think that there's a lot of great things to carry into that game going into Sunday, and a nationally televised game. And if you can win that one against Marquette on a neutral floor, first of all, how great is that for your resume to try and go to the NCAA tournament later on down the road? Well, also, how great is it for the national media and some people in the conference to start turning heads and say, "Hey, look what DeVries is building there in Bloomington."
We've talked about how this team's not on any radars and people don't pay attention and the state has forgotten about them and nobody really cares to go to the game. You win on Sunday, all of a sudden you realistically are probably going to be, I think it's 9-0 would be the number, when you head to Indianapolis in December to play Louisville. And you're going to have a top 10 team that you're playing that day, potentially the same day as Indiana's playing in the Big Ten championship in football in the same city.
The buzz.
You're all of a sudden, you've got people paying attention again to Indiana basketball, because now if you go out there and lay a giant turd in the Punch Bowl against Louisville, that's another story for another day. But it's an opportunity. Sunday is a huge opportunity. I'm really glad I pulled the trigger and decided this is a game I'm going to go to, because I'm actually really looking forward to it. I want to see how this team matches up with a Marquette team that has lost a lot of really good players over the past couple of years. Tyler Kolek's in the NBA. Cam Jones, we know, is sitting on the Pacers bench right now, but those have been great players for Marquette for several years. So they're kind of breaking in a new roster. They had a big win over Albany, 80-53 on their opener on Monday night. So we don't know a great deal about Marquette right now. They're a new team, just like Indiana's a new team. So let's I think metric wise, they look very similar on paper. So it's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity to get your to run up a good record at the beginning of the year and get, like you said, a good resume win early in the year.
Who are you going to that game with on Sunday, Mike?
Taking the pivot man, my 6'4", 14-year-old Avery's going with. Yeah, we're heading up Sunday or Saturday and gonna spend the weekend in Chicago.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the one thing I like about what I saw tonight and what I like about this Darren DeVries coach team is, and the way he plays is, I don't think Marquette is going to be able to speed IU up to where they're uncomfortable. Fast, relentless, and physical, the three words that they use with the IU football team is, I think, just as prevalent with this basketball team.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think Indiana has guards that are going to be able to handle some pressure because we know what Shaka loves to play some havoc. And I don't think Marquette's going to be able to overwhelm Indiana in the interior, which is a big fear that I have. Now, if you watch tonight, I know Michelle said you were able to see a couple times Indiana was just giving up straight line drive to the basket, and there was nobody back there to provide any sort of resistance. They had some mix-ups on some post doubles. DeVries likes to really, really pressure the ball on the outside. So teams with athleticism, like I expect Marquette to have, could potentially create a lot of problems. I don't know how much I'm ready to buy into Connor Enright keeping guys in front of him just yet.
Yeah.
He looks a little overmatched physically, and he also looks like he always smells a fart. I don't know if you noticed that.
He definitely looks like, and he may not be, but when you think of Indiana, you think of farm kids with the basketball goal and the hayloft and everything. Connor Enright kind of fits that image.
He certainly does. He looks like he was. If you asked AI to make a Indiana high school basketball player and just create a photo of him, it would probably pop up a picture. Even though he didn't play here in the state, there's a bunch of kids in Borden, Indiana that look like him who are going to start their season here around Thanksgiving, and that's what an Indiana Class A high school player looks like, is Connor Enright.
So with that being said, Indiana picks up a good first win, moves to 1-0 against Alabama A&M, 98-51, like we said earlier. The women's team also gets off to a good start over Lipscomb to open up their season. You were there, Michelle. What'd you see out of that team there? How'd the women's team look down there at Assembly Hall on Tuesday night?
They looked really good. They looked a lot like the men's team. I mean, they're brand new pretty much also. I mean, they do return Krzyzewski, only returning starter from last year. And then they only have three other players that were on the team last year. And one of those, Lene Beaumont, was redshirted. They look good. They're defensively. Terry Start's a true freshman, which if you know Coach Moore, that's kind of rare. Navia Coffey. She is a ball hawk. She's quick. Basketball IQ, she's fast, and that's Indiana's women kind of played a lot like the men. They push the ball, they're fast, they are faster, they're more athletic than they were a year ago, and even probably 2 years. The transfer from UCLA, the center, and I keep getting tongue twisted on her, but she looked really good inside last night. This Indiana women's team is going to be like the men's team. They're going to be fun to watch. I think IU fans are going to enjoy hoops at the Hall. And I will say this, I know Terry spent some time with Coach Sig. She said that in a recent interview, that learning how to navigate the portal and what NIL money and everything. And I think he gave her some great tips, and I think she took it to heart, and I think you can tell it on the court.
That's a good sign of a well-ran athletic department there when you have coaches from multiple programs and sports that can lean on each other for guidance. That's a promising sign there in the athletic department. You like to hear that.
What else you like to see is, back when Crean was the coach, you saw a lot of the men's players, and you saw Coach Crean at the women's games.
Sure.
You didn't see a whole lot of that the last 8 years.
Never saw it once.
Right. Well, the men's team, I know for the exhibition, the men's team and Coach DeVries and his staff were at Assembly Hall to watch the women play. And like you said, Grant, that is a well-run athletic program as a whole when other teams support each other.
Thanks, guys. Don't forget, we'll be back on Friday to preview the Penn State football game, and then Saturday to react to the Penn State football game, and then Sunday we will react to the Marquette game that Grant and Mike and Michelle have been talking about. What an exciting time for IU athletics, guys.
It is. Think about it. We're going to have a volleyball team in the NC2A tournament for the first time, and I'm not sure how long.
Oh,
But
and
hey,
football, good too.
Can I just throw one thing out though? Is Indiana ranked number 22 in Finland like the Central Indiana Sports Report is?
No, they are not. Thanks so much. That's true. I got an email on Wednesday saying that we have the number 22 rated sports podcast in all of Finland. We love you, Suomi. I have no idea how that's possible. Thanks so much to Grant, Mike, and Michelle. They've all three been very busy working for me this week, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Do us a huge favor and share this podcast with an IU fan in your life and help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Also, the Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.